Don't beat yourself up for whichever one you're experiencing, because that's shaming yourself for it is not going to make it any better. It's not going to make it any more constructive. That would be number one. And then next time you feel it happening, just take a breath, and that might be a new level of progress.
So step one is understand which one you are. So again, the aggressor, the appeaser, the anxious, or the avoider. Okay, which one of those are you? And then number two, what do you do about it? And what you do is you identify when it's happening. And then you can respond instead of react.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1581, What Do Your Expectations Say About You? Today, for episode number 1582, one of the most important things to know about yourself. Alan mentioned this in the previous episode. He was talking about when Kevin is hungry, Kevin gets Domino's. That was a joke in that episode, but I am definitely someone who I would consider myself an emotional eater. When I am stressed out, I am running to food. It's one of those things for me. I don't know if I ever want to get rid of it. I can be disciplined and do that and enjoy really good food. I like to believe that. But I didn't always know that about myself. I didn't always have that level of self-awareness. Now more than ever, I have this new realization that when I get super overwhelmed, it's really hard for me to seek feedback. So if I'm super overwhelmed with everything going on in life and I look at my WhatsApp, right now I have 23 messages in WhatsApp, sometimes it's very hard. And maybe you have that too, where you're just looking for certainty and the last thing you want to do is get more uncertainty. So today we're going to talk about trauma responses and what that means. And those two examples, again, maybe being overwhelmed isn't necessarily your typical definition of trauma, but knowing what you do when you feel a certain type of way, I guess this is going to be a big week of self-awareness episode. So Alan, take it away, good sir.
My therapist, Carol, she talked to me about little T trauma and big T trauma, and there's a lot of research underneath this. Little T trauma is day-to-day trauma, like what you just referred to. It's feeling unseen, unheard, overwhelmed, whatever, insert thing here that is stress response. And then big T trauma would be like car accident, death in the family, that kind of thing. So we coach a couple, and the male in the relationship said, "Oh, I don't have any trauma." And I knew in that moment, I was like, "Oh, we're in trouble. We're in trouble," because this person has a misbelief that they've never been hurt. I mean, every human's been hurt, right? And so again, at the end of the day, we all have trauma, and we have little T trauma on the daily. And you've heard me talk about micro and macro. If you're a long-term listener, if you're a short-term listener, or a new listener, short-term listener. If you're a new listener, I talk micro and macro all the time. And I think that's a good start. So the two examples Kevin gave are obviously not big T trauma. Being hungry is not a big T trauma. And his trauma response is order Domino's. And by the way, I do want to say this too, just because I think it's valuable. Everyone's an emotional eater. To an extent. It's just to what extent.
That's fair.
If you've ever heard someone, I have an addictive personality. Every human being has an addictive personality. It's just to what extent, right?
And to what's the quality of the goodness of the thing you're addicted to?
Yeah, exactly. You can be addicted to books, or you can be addicted to something really
exercise,
negative, like alcohol. Exactly. Yeah.
Exercise.
Human beings in general are naturally addictive, and I think that we get a little confused, and we can do episodes in the future about that if you're interested, Kev. But to bring it back to this, the framework is simple. The 4 Fs: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Kevin and I are fond of a book that we read way back called The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. And this is sort of our own next level university flavor of our own sort of 4 tendencies. And at Next Level Live and in group coaching, we talk about these trauma responses. Again, fight and flight are the common ones everyone knows. The 2 less common ones are freeze and fawn. And I'm going to go through each, and then label them. And the label is to help you understand what your go-to is. I was on the phone with a client, and we were talking about how in his childhood he had a very overly dominant alcoholic father. And his trauma response to his alcoholic father was to fawn. And fawning is the rarest of the four. I shouldn't say rarest. It's the least known in the psychology. And so fawning was mine. That's the one where when someone else is in distress, you do whatever you can to make them feel better. And so if you had a childhood where one parent being in distress meant there was going to be fighting or arguing or physical abuse or any kind of abuse whatsoever, you would basically do whatever you can to like stay small and like get them their coffee or get them their cigarette or get them their drink or whatever you need to do to make sure they're good, because when they're not good, they make everyone not good. You ever meet those people where when they're not good, they just take it out on everybody? Yeah, my least favorite kind of people. But anyway, so this client of mine is a fawner, and that's not the label. The label is this. So fight is self-explanatory. I call that the aggressor. Okay, and so everyone listening, please think of people in your life. Please think of yourself. Please understand and try to label people based on their go-to trauma response. So the aggressor, bullies tend to be aggressors. They tend to love confrontation. They tend to fight every time they get a chance. So the fight response is the aggressor. The flight response is the avoider. I would say that would be you, Kev.
I avoid it like I'm allergic to it.
You know what I'm saying?
Because I am allergic to it.
So if you feel like you avoid confrontation, like Kev, and again, we're not making this wrong. None of these are wrong. We all have one of these, if not all of these, actually. Okay? And we all have these trauma responses. So this is not a shame or guilt thing. All right, so the aggressor is number one. Number two is the avoider. Number three is the fawner, which is actually the appeaser. That's mine. Mine is definitely to appease. So if Emilia's not good, I have to kind of be okay with her not being good and not immediately try to make everything better for her. I do that. Sometimes I go right into caregiver and I'm immediately, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a thing. Now it can be a really positive thing. See how it can be really nice? But
it's the frame I've used before that I think has landed with people is self-sacrifice. If you're appeasing and it's like a sacrifice of self for others, it's probably not sustainable /
Exactly. And a lot of times what happens is the appeasers like me will self-sacrifice at the expense of their own core values and then eventually become aggressors. Mm-hmm. And that's when you suppress yourself for so long or appease for so long that eventually you're like, what the F? And then you become an aggressor and then you swing the pendulum back because then you get in shame of being an aggressor and now you're going back to fawning. So it's just this pendulum that keeps swinging. So anyways, hopefully a lot of people are seeing themselves and others in this. Just an awareness that matters. And then the last one is freeze, which I called the disassociators, which Jerry Ann, shout out to you if you're listening. Jerry Ann's my executive admin, and she said, the other three begin with A. We need an A. And I was like, okay, we got this. So now we're going to call these people the anxious. So the anxious are the people that when you're so overwhelmed, you just do nothing.
I have that too, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, again, we all have all four. It's just what percentage.
I feel like I
What's
have
your
100% of each, I think. You know what I mean? I feel like
I would say your go-to is almost never aggressor.
That's fair. Yeah,
You've only ever tried to fight me. No, I'm kidding. There's only ever been one time where Kevin and I got like aggressive with each other, and we were in strong disagreement. But we immediately went to one of the other ones.
Well, the truth of the matter was both of us were feeling very unseen, probably, and disconnected, and we just got our lines crossed. And then I beat you, and I won.
Yeah. We had a physical altercation, and Kevin won. No, we didn't. We ended up actually crying at a yoga.
Quite the opposite. Yeah. There was no physicality. There was a lot of tears, though.
My name is Alex, and I am a professional videographer who runs a production company out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. The one thing that I love about working with Alan is that right away he was able to come in and set up a system for me that makes sure that I am taking charge of my time and I'm taking the actionable steps that I need in order to progress towards my goals on a day-to-day basis. When I get off the phone with him, I always find that I am energized, and I am getting the most out of what I do with my time.
And so what is the solution? So number one, identify which. Kevin told you all in advance this was going to be an Alan heavy episode, so
it's easy for me. I can just kind of sit back, have my coffee,
and just say, hey, I have all of these, right?
Yes.
So number one, identify which one's your go-to. So we all have all four because we're all human beings, but which one's the go-to? For me, the go-to is fawning, which is the appeaser. Okay? And for Kev, it's probably the avoider. Most likely avoid. When avoiding doesn't work, then order food, It's funny. When the other three don't work, then you get aggressive. It's funny. But anyways, so step one is understand which one you are. So again, the aggressor, the appeaser, the anxious, or the avoider. Okay, which one of those are you? And then number two, what do you do about it? And what you do is you identify when it's happening. And then you can respond instead of react. This is emotional intelligence in a nutshell. You, instead of just react automatically with your central nervous system and your trauma responses, you actually take a minute or a couple seconds and you just, I'm appeasing. I'm doing what I do. I'm appeasing right now. Is that the best solution? And then you can decide, okay, yeah, getting her coffee or whatever is actually what I want to do. That's aligned. Or, let me just be okay for a minute. Let me self-soothe and give her a moment. You can choose now. Now that you're aware that this is your tendency, now you can choose. Now Kev can say, you know what? I normally would order Domino's, but I'm going to choose not to do that because that's avoiding the real problem, which is a tough conversation with Taryn or whatever, right? Or avoiding telling Alan that he talks too much.
Yeah, you're gonna see the order come through for Domino's. It's gonna be bigger than usual. No, I'm getting empanadas. So we're recording this on UFC on Saturday. There's UFC on tonight. I found a place that delivers empanadas.
I don't even know what that is, man. Straight up.
Empanadas are. It's like a. I don't even know how to explain it. It's a dough-filled pastry that has like meat in it. So there's buffalo chicken empanadas, there are taco empanadas, broccoli and cheese empanadas. It is the best
It's
ever.
like a calzone, like a mini calzone.
But a mini calzone, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much. And I'll get about 8 of them.
I'll get about
Probably
about
8 of them. So that's what's going to happen tonight. Do I have anything else of value to add to this episode? Probably not. I think, to your point, Alan, and this is really what we're always talking about in a nutshell, but awareness. Awareness is an opportunity. There can be a time between the trigger and the response. And when you're aware, I know labels can be dangerous. I'm shy, I'm this, but labeling feelings, I think, is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And labeling responses is very important because if you don't label them, you don't really, maybe you don't have the same level of control. So my next level nugget for this episode would be, number one, don't beat yourself up for whichever one you're experiencing, because that's shaming yourself for it is not going to make it any better. It's not going to make it any more constructive. That would be number one. And then next time you feel it happening, just take a breath, and that might be a new level of progress. And then from there, we can figure out, okay, what do we do next? But yeah, small steps. That's my hashtag small steps for 2024. That's going to be my thing. So hopefully I'll try to make a lot of my next level nuggets the small tactics that we can take.
My next level nugget is, identify which one is your go-to. And then, stop, drop, and roll, so to speak, when you are triggered. And try to take a couple breaths, to Kevin's point. And then, there are times when being aggressive is important. I always joke, I say, if there's a bear in the woods, don't zen out. You either avoid, run away, you get aggressive and you scare it. I think you're supposed to do different things with different bears. I don't know.
Yes, so here's the thought.
I have bear spray, so I'm going to pull that out.
If it's, and again, I don't know. I read this somewhere. If it's brown, lay down.
Okay.
Brown bear, lay down, play dead.
If it's brown,
black,
flush it down.
If it's brown, flush it down. If it's black, fight back. So if it's a black bear, fight back.
Okay.
And then I think the rule for a polar bear is you're just kind of screwed because They're not normal bears.
For a polar bear, you better have a weapon.
You're probably in trouble. Again, please do not take that as professional survival advice. I heard it somewhere. I don't know if it's true or not. So
It's
please do your
brown,
own
lay
research.
down. Someone gets.
I
Next Level
don't know.
University told me,
don't know.
we don't have our bear expertise.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, the point is sometimes you do have to stick up for yourself, and sometimes you do have to fight back. I think it's all about choosing the right response instead of just reacting. Yeah, that's it.
Boom. Next Level Nation, if you have not joined our appropriately named Facebook group, Next Level Nation, please do. It is a great place to meet like-minded people. If you've been looking for an accountability partner, if you've been looking for a peak performance partner, any of those things, it's a great place to find them. Link will be in the show notes as always. We would love to have you there.
2 super quick things. Number 1, we have a new book in Book Club. If you're not in Next Level Nation yet, please join. We have a poll that's coming up with the next book. So please vote. Please vote for the book that you are the most excited for. And we also have a Next Level monthly meetup, the 26th one. 3 words you need to remember if you want a next level relationship. Again, I coach a lot of relationships at this point. I'm very blessed for that. I'm very grateful because I learned so much. And when these 3 things aren't present, the relationship is just doomed. And that includes my relationship. That includes Kevin's relationship. This is the 3 things to remember in a relationship. And I actually have my own little check-in. I call it an ego check, where I'm checking in with these 3 things. Okay. So that is February 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the registration link will be in the show notes.
Tomorrow, for episode number 1583, is the thing you're running from the thing you need the most? Do I remember the story? Not in this moment. Will I remember it before we do the episode? I do hope so. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Stay self-aware. Next Level Nation.